On August 25th, 2017, I released the second video I ever made on my channel, which at the time was called Geek Talk. That was the first video in my now popular Creatures of Teen Wolf series, which was the original Werewolves Explained video. At the time, I was fairly new to Teen Wolf still, only being a part of the fandom for a year and a half. I first entered the fandom, many of you guys know, in late 2015, early 2016, around the time Season 5B was premiering on live television. So that video had most things correct, but some things very, very incorrect. My statement saying werewolves can become drunk anyway, that video will most likely be permanently replaced with this one and just privated but not deleted because it's still a piece of history for me that I like to look back on in terms of my evolution and growth, in terms of the popularity and growth of this channel. So sit back and relax and enjoy this updated installment in the currently defunct Creatures of Teen Wolf series, and this will most likely be the last time I revisit this series too, since it's been so long since I've made a Creatures in Teen Wolf video, about like a year and a half. So for the culture, let's play the classic OG intro one last time, shall we? So I like to break things down in terms of the werewolves to make it easier for myself and, for people who are like me to distinguish the forms. And the way I do that is by making categories for each varying shift. We only have two official names for the shifts werewolves can do. Partial shifting, the common werewolf shift that takes place essentially only showing their glowing eyes, slight hair growth on the cheeks, and their fangs and their claws being present. And of course, the full shift, or more commonly known as evolved werewolves, which is a transformation that sees you turn into a full-on wolf. Only 3 characters have been shown to achieve this feat so far, that being Laura Hale, Derek Hale, and their mother Talia Hale. The rest of the shifts seen in the series have names that are either hypothetical or nicknames provided by fans like myself. So this video, we're going to stick to those nicknames since Jeff Davis has never given them any official names as of early 2022. First, we're going to cover the type of werewolf Peter Hale transformed into or had the ability to transform into during his time as an alpha. This transformation isn't particularly exclusive to him, as every werewolf technically can transform into this type of werewolf as well. And we saw evidence of this with Scott McCall in Season 4, and these transformations are indicative of a lack of control and unhealthy state of mind, which is why later in the series you never see Peter transform into this type of werewolf ever again, due to his mental state improving and getting healthier. Next is the fused alpha, the form Ethan and Aiden were able to transform into as alphas, and before they became alphas as well. This form, unlike the previous one, was exclusive to them and saw the two literally merge their bodies into one. Unlike the previous form, they still retain a human-like partial shifted look. As one of the more powerful forms of a werewolf we've seen on the show thus far, it was larger than an average size human, with the average size of a male human being 5 foot 10 inches, with the strength of 2 alphas combined into one, literally. Unfortunately, this form was killed by Jennifer Blake by her taking advantage of the lunar eclipse and all the werewolves at the time losing their powers for a 15-minute time window, but we could see they slightly got weaker before the lunar eclipse hit its peak as well. I already made a video on the channel explaining the lunar eclipse, so you guys can check that out after this video here. Next form is something the entire community refers to as Demon Wolf, and to that I'll tell everyone right now, you are wrong. This form is not called Demon Wolf. It was a fan-made name used by the community for years, even before I joined the community. When DEUCALION uses Demon Wolf, I use that in heavy air quotes, Demon Wolf, he uses it as in hyperbole, which means basically it's a sort of way to hype himself up. I'll put the definition of hyperbole for those of you who just don't happen to know what the word means on screen here. And I like to refer to this form as full power DEUCALION, as I think it makes sense for him. And lastly, we have the Beast of Gévaudan, which we're not going to really talk about because he's unclassified. So the bite or a deep scratch from an alpha werewolf will either kill a person, for example, Derek's ex-girlfriend Paige, or begin the transformation into a werewolf. An alpha werewolf bite can also interact with the mental state of the individual to generate different creatures such as canimas and werejaguars. In only one case seen on Teen Wolf, Sebastian Vallet in the 1760s became a werewolf after drinking rainwater from the paw print of an actual wolf. Werewolves in Teen Wolf are seen to have the abilities that go as follows. Heightened senses, which is werewolves can basically smell, see, and hear far better than humans. Accelerated healing. Werewolves heal quicker from most injuries. Enhanced agility. Werewolves can jump, run, climb, and react faster than normal humans. Enhanced strength. Werewolves are much stronger than humans, as is pretty much apparent with every single one we see on the show. Pain transference. Werewolves can absorb and alleviate pain from other people and creatures and can heal in some cases. Memory transference. Werewolves can transfer, give or take, memories by inserting claws into the nape of an individual's neck. This ability can establish mind-to-mind communication and, with practice, allow for memory manipulation or erasure. These previous abilities just mentioned are common to all three types of werewolves, by the way. Even in human form, they appear to possess all of these abilities, although there is evidence that the abilities are not always active and must be, quote, in air quotes, turned on to work. Healing, for instance, can be delayed by choice as long as the werewolf is conscious. Some perks that come with being a werewolf is that becoming a werewolf can heal scars and cure chronic illnesses like asthma, epilepsy, or even cancer. Camera flashes and some video recording devices causes werewolves' eyes to glow, making them nearly impossible to photograph. They can apparently learn to control this effect. In the dark, werewolves' eyes seem to react to light like a regular canine with eye shine. Werewolves cannot become intoxicated by drinking alcohol, and this is believed to be due to their enhanced healing ability. Smelling chemo signals allows werewolves to know what someone is feeling. Werewolves can control their healing ability to some degree while they are conscious, and werewolves, like other shapeshifters, are at the mercy of the full moon and can lose control of their temperament. However, the different full moons can have different effects on werewolves, such as lunar eclipse and full moons respectively, and supermoons as well. During the worm moon, a werewolf can be brought back to life with wolfsbane and blood from an alpha if the body is still intact. However, the werewolf will still be physically weak for some time, as shown with Peter Hale. In the supermoon, affects werewolves heavily, as the normal full moon actively is amplified and self-control is harder to maintain. The Dread Doctors use the moon to awaken a resurrected Beast of Gévaudan in the genetic chimera Mason Hewitt. Some werewolves have a somewhat altered aging process. The creator of Teen Wolf, Jeff Davis, explains that the writers always thought the werewolves would age more slowly if you are a born werewolf, which in actuality, I think that makes complete sense. If you ask me personally, I think that's always how it should be. Like, if you're born, obviously you're going to live longer than if you were bitten. I just think that's the way to go. But that's just my personal intake. And they also learn more control of their bodies, which is, you know, the case with Derek and Peter. They were able to control, or not in all cases. Derek had a hard time controlling his werewolf powers, but clearly Peter had an easier time, at least from, you know, all the history we know about him on the show. So this seems to confirm that the lack of visible aging is linked to the mastery of their body. Some major weaknesses werewolves and Teen Wolf have is wolfsbane, and the effects of wolfsbane vary depending on the type, amount, and delivered method. It can cause hallucinations, weakness, or weaken, render unconscious, or even kill werewolves, depending on, once again, the amount and delivery method. Mountain ash, when used properly, mountain ash can form an impenetrable barrier to keep supernatural creatures in or out. This affects other supernatural creatures, not just werewolves, but it's a major weakness nonetheless that I thought I'd mention. It can also, according to Deaton, modify their behavior, keeping them from causing trouble. Scott describes being surrounded by mountain ash at Eichen House as like being sedated, and this was in season 5, episode 15 and 16, amplification and liability. Other weaknesses include the lunar eclipse. Werewolves are powerless during a total lunar eclipse, and the lunar eclipse, as we've seen in canon, last about as long as 15 minutes. That was the window in season 3's mid-season finale. Don't know if it could go on longer, but we know that's the period that was mentioned in that season. Mistletoe. Much like with humans, mistletoe poisons werewolves and can lead to death if untreated. And some of their minor weaknesses include experienced werewolves are at the mercy of the full moon. Under its sway, they lose control and their homicidal tendencies increase. This can be controlled by force of will, but bitten werewolves have a much more difficult time while remaining in control. Hecatomite can block the effects of a full moon and disrupt the natural cycle of transformation. Bites, scratches, and other wounds inflicted by an alpha will not heal as quickly as other injuries. Intense pain or steady application of low amperage electricity can keep werewolves weakened in human form. While their healing abilities come through in the most dire situations, werewolves can still bleed out with a wound if not properly treated, like in season 3, episode 4, Unleashed. And any head injury, such as being bludgeoned, such as in season 3, episode 9, The Girl Who Knew Too Much, or shot in the head, can kill werewolves as well, such as in the series finale, The Wolves of War. The weaknesses mentioned before are unique to werewolves. Other methods of death, such as being cut in half or having one's skull crushed, would also be fatal to humans, and therefore are not specific werewolf weaknesses, in quote. Fire is also mentioned often by fans as a special weakness for werewolves, but according to what we've seen on the show, fire harms werewolves significantly less than it does humans. For werewolves, even the worst burns will eventually heal, such as with Peter Hale. There are 3 known types of werewolves in Teen Wolf mythology. First, we have Omegas. An Omega is basically a lone wolf existing without a pack or an alpha, and they all have the werewolf abilities mentioned before in the previous section, but are considered weaker than other types because they are not part of a pack. Werewolves can become Omegas by choice or be forced out of a pack by the alpha or by circumstance. And the term Omega of the pack has been used to reference the lowest ranking member or members of a pack, and this does not indicate a drop in an actual werewolf status, but is instead used as a constant basically shitting on another person type of insult, pretty much. Betas are members of a pack. They're pretty much the most common werewolves you'll see on Teen Wolf. Because of this association, they are considered stronger than Omegas, but they do not seem to have any special abilities beyond those mentioned before in the previous section as noted before. And both betas and Omegas will show various skill levels based on experience. Therefore, a direct comparison of power levels is kind of difficult, which is why for example, my fantasy fights videos, you may see different varying results for each matchup I do, because it is hard to power scale Teen Wolf, especially past season 3. Whereas season 1 through 3, the power scaling was very consistent. Next, you have alphas. An alpha is essentially a leader of a werewolf pack, and it's the strongest and most powerful, and so far the most lethal variety of werewolf, not counting the Beast of Shevadan. And to become an alpha, a beta or omega can become one by killing an alpha of their pack or by another pack, respectively. Then you have a subclass of alpha called true alphas, and it's basically a more passive way of becoming an alpha, but I'll explain the actual definition. It's a beta or omega that can become an alpha through strength of character or force of will alone. They're called true alphas, obviously, and they're extremely rare. They only appear once every 100 years, and the most recent true alpha we know is the main character of the series, Scott McCall. A true alpha status can be taken only by a beta of their own making. Alphas also possess special abilities specific to them. An alpha's bite can transform a human into a werewolf, and the bite usually only has 2 outcomes, transformation or death, although there are rare exceptions, being Lydia Martin or the Kanima. As mentioned before in the previous section, of course, it appears a scratch from an alpha, if it goes deep enough, can sometimes be transformative, as seen with Kate Argent when she transformed into a were-jaguar. Alphas have limited telepathy and mental control over their betas that they create, and some other shapeshifters as well, such as when Scott was able to forcefully shift Malia Hale back into her human form from being a were-coyote for about 8 to 9 years in canon. Bites, scratches, and other wounds inflicted by an alpha will not heal as quickly as other injuries. Alphas can heal the extremely ill with their pain transference ability, but they give up part of their spark that makes them an alpha. This can result in loss of alpha status, as seen with Derek Hale when he healed his younger sister Cora in Season 3, Episode 11, Alpha Pact. Alphas can, by killing their betas, become stronger as well. We call these, this is not an official term. I should have mentioned this before, but we're going to talk about it now. It's not an official term because it's never been officially given a name by Jeff Davis, but the community and myself, I think I'm actually the first one to label them as these. I call these augmented alphas because they get augmented by their beta sparks, obviously making them stronger than alphas normally would be. And then finally, we have the Beast of Jevudan, and the Beast is unlike any other werewolf seen on the show. It is larger than Peter Hale's Beast form from Season 1, and instead of shapeshifting, the Beast creates shadows around itself by basically just like spawning them out of nowhere. Kind of like how the Venom symbiote spawns. That's what I like to compare it to the most. And these differences stem from two potential things. Sebastian became a werewolf after drinking rainwater from the paw print of a wolf. While this piece of werewolf lore has never been mentioned on the show before, it has been mentioned on the show before, this is the only example of it working. According to Jeff Davis, his form and transformation come from how evil he already was when he became a werewolf. Check out my recent video I did on the Beast of Jevudan and how Jeff Davis created it, which was posted about like a week and a half ago. The Beast also does not fit into any known previous categories of werewolf and was extremely powerful without the benefits of a pack or an alpha or having an alpha status, which Jeff Davis has made abundantly clear and has mentioned numerous times. The Beast is the most powerful werewolf in the entire series. You also have evolved werewolves, which I mentioned way back in the beginning of the video, that are regarded as a rare occurrence. Some werewolves obtain the ability to shift into an actual wolf. Jeff Davis also regarded these werewolves as those who have achieved a balance between their wolf nature and their humanity that keep them from becoming beast. This form is only seen with Laura Hale, Talia Hale, and Derek Hale, as mentioned previously earlier in the video. When a werewolf shifts into this form, they revert into their human form without their clothes intact, such as Derek's mom and Derek himself. Derek achieved this form when he died and came back to life, when it seemed he was losing his powers, but it was actually evolving instead. And he had a strength increase so potent to the point that he was able to break a berserker mask within seconds and with relative ease. So werewolves tend to have 3 distinct eye colors, not counting the Beast, who has more of like a light blue, white type of eyes. We're only going to be talking about the main eye colors werewolves possess throughout the series. First, we're going to cover alphas. Alphas always have glowing red eyes. Yellow is the most common eye color amongst betas and omegas, and some betas and omegas have blue eyes, such as Peter Hale and Derek Hale, and the color difference is an indication that they have taken an innocent life. Creator Jeff Davis says the root cause of this change comes from within the werewolf or were-coyote in this other case, as well as we've seen a were-coyote in Season 6 that possesses yellow eyes, so it's not exclusive to werewolves. It's a darkening of the heart, and think of it more as a spiritual thing more than a practical thing. Werewolves are social creatures that mainly operate in packs. Some of the more well-known packs include the McCall Pack, Hale Pack, Alpha Pack, Satomi's Pack, and the Primal Packs, respectively. And with that all said, this is going to bring us to the end of Werewolves Explained Remastered. So I want to thank you guys for tuning into this video. If you made it this far in the video, you guys are goated. This will be the final Creatures in Teen Wolf video ever. I said I was done exploring this series in 2020, but I decided, I was like, the werewolves video does really need an update. Like, that video has a lot of misinformation in it, but in this video we pretty much covered everything. So If you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave me a like. It greatly helps support the channel, and it also motivates me to give you guys more Teen Wolf content, as I have been doing now for almost 5 years. And yeah, I'm Jade's Corner. Make sure you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace, love, and positivity as always, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Deuces.